Thank you very much. As people are filing on, please go ahead and we're just talking about what we're looking forward to this summer. You've joined us, thank you very much, for our last CNP monthly webinar for school year 23-24. Here's our agenda for the day. We'll talk about NSLP renewal and trainings. Lynda will give us an update on direct certification, go over summer operations and next year's administrative reviews. I have some next steps on the FFVP grant for those who applied. We'll talk a little bit about the USDA final rule. TJ will tell us about USDA foods. And then I have literacy from the lunchroom, spotlight on local, farm to school. And then our next webinar will be in August. And you made it. Happy summer. Yay, you did it. Thank you for all your hard work. I know some schools, there are a couple schools who have already stopped school for summer as of like yesterday or something. So hopefully you'll have some time to recharge over the next couple of months. And just so you know, remember, we're grateful for all that you do. And with that, let's get started. Go ahead, Jackson, tell us about NSLP renewal, please.
Hey, Pamela.
Yeah.
So we just want to give you guys a reminder that NSLP renewal is open. It opened on April 29th, so just 2.5 weeks ago. The coordinator in charge of your packet should have reached out to you by this point, but if you have any questions, you can always contact the NSLP team and we'll make sure that we point you in the right directions or in the right direction. And remember to follow the renewal instructions that are provided in section 4 of download forms. They should help you through most of your questions, but if you do have any questions that you feel aren't answered, feel free to reach out to the coordinator assigned to your packet or the NSLP team. We also want to give you guys a reminder about summer food promotion. So even if you're not operating summer food service program or a summer feeding site, SFAs still must cooperate with the summer food service program sponsors to distribute materials to inform families of the availability and location of free SFSP meals for students when school is not in session. You can do this by promoting summer meal locations via maybe a newsletter that you guys send out at the end of the year or via your website, and you can advertise the summer meal site finder mapping tool. You can also have them in your advertisement text summer meals to 1-866 348 6479 so they can get information on that as well. Also, just a quick reminder that sponsors that are operating a combination of congregate and rural non-congregate SFSP meal sites, make sure that you're double checking your advertising information to make sure that you have a clear message to your community on which sites are actually going to require the meals to be consumed on site versus which sites are going to have a grab and go option, allowing them to not be eating them on site. Okay, so just real quickly, we want to remind you guys that annual training dates have now been released in the learning portal. You are allowed 2 attendees per school food authority, so per district or per school. If you're a charter school or a single site, but 2 attendees per SFA. We are going to allow an online Zoom in, and we're going to have that be available for the 2 Boise trainings, so available on July 31st and August 13th. We just kind of want to remind everyone that this is just going to be a trial run. That you guys should have gotten that broadcast email, I think, sometime late last week. It will not replace the need for a program contact or a designee from the program contact attending an in-person training. It's more for additional staff that you might think will benefit from it, but cannot attend due to room size or time conflicts. And also we have an RCCI training date as well for all of our RCCIs/JDC, so Juvenile Detention Centers. We're looking at offering this via Zoom as well, so stay tuned. We will be probably sending something your way here in the very near future about that. And also we have some additional trainings here. So NSLP 101 and 102 are going to be set for September 25th and 26th in Boise only. So these are additional trainings for those that feel that they may benefit from additional training opportunities. They're only going to be available in Boise, and we are also looking at maybe having some sort of Zoom opportunity available for those. So stay tuned. We'll be sending out a broadcast email again in the very near future about those. These are just two of them. We're also looking at having one USDA one tagged onto this same week for USDA foods. And then also we're looking at implementing NSLP 103 and another USDA foods training in later January. So please just be on the lookout for those. We'll provide information on those via broadcast email for y'all.
Thanks, Jax. Now, Lynda, do you want to take it away?
Sure. We are slowly moving forward with the match with Medicaid. Right now, we still are waiting for Department of Health and Welfare to get their MOU, which is a sort of a contract in between our organizations for data sharing. However, once that happens, we will be going quicker, and we hope to be pilot testing the new direct cert output for those of you who automatically move it into your student information system. So we are looking for volunteers to test it out to see how it works in your system. If you are interested in that, it would happen probably in mid-July, mid to late July, I'm hoping, and send me an email at ljwestphal, WESTPHAL @sde.idaho.gov, and I will put you on a list to be notified when testing will be rolling out. So I really do hope that the match with Medicaid, well, first of all, I hope it's very successful, but I hope it will be ready to go out before school starts in July or August. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynda. Let's see. Jax, do you want to tell us about summer operations, please?
Sure. Yeah. So while you're out, just a quick note that And Justice for All posters, the new ones, there's no ETA on the new posters. So please make sure that you're keeping the ones that you have. Make sure that your janitors and cafeteria staff aren't taking them down for any reason. Make sure that they are aware of that. Also, there's Farm to Summer Week from June 17th to 21st, 2024. If you have any activities planned, please let us know and we can share and promote them on our social media. So don't forget to take pictures and send those to Marianne Libby at the email there. Okay, and so administrative reviews for next year. So we just sent out an email, I believe it was on Monday of this week, just quickly giving a heads up to the program contact and superintendent of the districts and schools listed here, notifying that you guys are going to have an administrative review next year. It was just a heads up. We're not going to send out anything formal with like regards to the letter and whatnot until closer to the beginning of the school year. So be looking for that around August. We still have to confirm dates and make sure that everyone is all good in our schedule because we have to make sure that everything lines up with spring breaks and make sure that all of the school district calendars are in place before we actually set things in stone. But just be aware that that is coming.
Thank you, Jax. And on a separate note, some schools will also have a procurement review, and Kat Forsty will reach out to those on her list. So if you're not on the administrative review list, just remember they possibly might be due for a procurement review. So for the FFVP Grant, the next steps. We received the applications. We're going through those. The USDA releases funding totals around July, and that then we'll know how much we're working with. So when we find that out, we'll allocate the funding and send the award letters and addendum to you. And then you have the addendum signed and everything. And then you complete the mandatory training, and then we give you release the funds, and off we go. But it seems like we're just wrapping up and already looking forward to the next year. But if we have any questions about your applications for those who have applied, I'll definitely be reaching out to you. So we're still going through them, just so you know. Yay, USDA final rule that just came out. So the child nutrition programs, the meal patterns consistent with the 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans. Research shows that school meals are the most nutritious food source for American school children, thanks in large part to the work of school nutrition professionals, parents, school meal partners, and the food industry. And the USDA makes school meals healthier over the past decade. On April 25th, the USDA's Food and Nutrition Service published the final rule titled Child Nutrition Programs, Meal Patterns Consistent with the 2020 to 2025 Dietary Guidelines for Americans, which is the next step in continuing the science-based improvement of school meals and other USDA child nutrition programs, as well as advancing USDA's commitment to nutrition security. The changes are based on a comprehensive review of the dietary guidelines for Americans, robust stakeholder input on the CNP meal patterns, and lessons learned from prior rulemakings. While this rulemaking is effective July 1st of 2024, USDA is gradually phasing in required changes over time. So, program operators are not required to make any changes to their menus as a result of this rulemaking until school year 2025 to 2026 at the earliest. Here are some links to give you some more information, and I will go ahead and drop these in the chat. Oh, and there was the first line I put in was the site finder. Going back to the summer meals guide. Okay, let's see. Here's one for the updates. And then here's another one. This is the last one in here is the comparison chart. Hopefully those links came through. Here are the topics that are impacted by the final rule. You can click on these from the comparison chart link provided in the chat for more information. USDA Foods updates. TJ, take it away.
Great, thank you, Pamela. And just so you're aware, I did check in the chat. The verbiage is there, but it doesn't look like it links. So you may want to work on that if you have a minute.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, hi, everyone. It's kind of interesting to be talking about the end of a school year and USDA foods again, but here we are. So just real quick, I wanted to remind everybody about the USDA foods inventory sitting in our warehouse. But note that we usually put these webinars together, a week from when we're presenting. And I am going to transition from reminding folks to a big thank you. I just spoke with our warehouse supervisors, and they informed me that this is absolutely the best year we have seen in terms of inventory in the warehouse. So thank you all so much for diligently applying our 60-day dwell time policy as well as taking your inventory and knowing, of course, that that inventory was paid for with your entitlement. So please make plans to use what you have in your dry storage, your freezers, and your chill, because it's yours and it was paid for. So thank you again for your diligence in that. And then next slide, please. So I did want to remind folks that in summer meal service programs, any USDA foods that you're carrying in inventory can absolutely be used to serve your summer food program. So please have a plan for utilizing those foods instead of having them sit over the summer, if at all possible. One thing we know is that Murphy's Law, somebody's freezer is going to go down. It just happens in the summer. It never fails. So please have a plan, if you can, to utilize those USDA foods in your summer meal service. It'll keep the cost of meals down. And of course, with the reimbursement for summer foods being higher, it's a really great way to really make your summer feeding program more financially sustainable. The other thing I wanted to remind folks is that there are still a few offerings on the advertisement post. So if you see anything there that you can use, please feel free to take those in reasonable quantities so we can move those through the system instead of donating them to a food bank or something like that. And then as far as summer feeding programs are concerned, those that were eligible for a summer food allocation to DOD have been notified. As a reminder, the funds sit in the summer food budget of favors, and those funds are available now. So you can start utilizing them as early as today. If for some reason you don't have any NSLP funds and you want to use DOD funds, but you do have until September 30th to utilize all DOD funds. If you go into favors and see that there's an allocation that is more than you anticipate being able to use, please notify me so that I can redistribute that to another school that is running a summer program, so we can make sure all those funds are used. As we've stated many times before, DOD allocations are use them or lose them. So we clearly do not want those funds reclaimed. So with that, let's go ahead and move to the next slide, please. And then, of course, just a reminder about USDA DOD Fresh. The NSLP budget, last time I checked, still had over $51,000 that must be spent by June 30th, 2024. So if you're still operating and can take another favors delivery, please put that in and utilize it. And keep in mind, even if it is under the NSLP budget, if you are operating a summer program starting immediately following the end of your school year, you may use those funds up until June 30th. So please help us make sure that we don't lose any of that $51,000. And then the figure for the SFSP budget that I was just mentioning is only $8,253. But again, it must be spent by September 30th. So just if you participate in DOD, jump into favors, check your NSLP budget, and then check and see if you have an SFSP budget to utilize. And next slide, please. And then finally, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on our program software systems. So the Gold Star Foods ordering system, they are planning on offering a live training, which will be available in early August 2024. While we do believe that most people, unless of course you're a fairly new food service director, believe that they understand how the system works, but there have been some updates to the system. So there will be a dashboard feature that shows actual, if you can imagine a dashboard, sort of like your gas tank in a car. Those features are new to the system. So we would like to make sure everyone understands how that works. Additionally, we want to go over the single bank system again so that people are aware of the impact to them. We want to make sure you know where your reports live so that you know regularly where to check if you have live inventory or even anticipated deliveries of inventory. So please watch for an email from Gold Star Foods. Typically it will be Edith Gonzalez, and prepare for participating in those trainings sometime in early August. And then the final notification is webscmlogin.gov. Please don't delay. If you have not transitioned to USDA's login.gov from the e-authentication process, it is a little bit stepwise cumbersome. It will take about 20 minutes. I believe there are 17 steps involved, but you must be incredibly deliberate about following each step. So our team put out a guide. We mailed that out back, I want to say April 19th. If you didn't receive it and you need it and you would like to have access to that, let me know, or just email USDA Foods team at sde.idaho.gov and we'll make sure you get that information. We also posted it in our USDA Foods team blog and sent it out via broadcast email. But please make sure that you're following the instructions, one, and you need to do login.gov in WebSCM and link to your eAuth before you try accessing favors through login.gov. We've had a few people try and reverse that, and it will mess up your login. So please follow the steps outlined in our guide if you have not done so already. So with that, I think we will turn. Oh, and I did just also want to mention that if you have an issue with your WebSCM link process, let us know. But the reality is I can't see your login information. It's a double authentication process. If you have issues, you're likely going to have to reach out to the login.gov support team, because I don't have any way of fixing something that went wrong. For instance, if you didn't set up your secondary authentication process accurately. So just know that while we're willing to help, we likely can't do anything when it comes to the login.gov linking process. And finally, please use the USDA Foods team at sde.idaho.gov email. I don't know how many folks are aware, but Crystal is leaving our organization. She has a new opportunity, and I am going to be incredibly dependent on those on that email chain to be able to keep up with requests. So make sure that you use the USDA Foods team at sde.idaho.gov for any request for assistance for the USDA Foods team program. And with that, moving on.
Thank you, DJ. I put the email in the chat.
Thank you, Pamela.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, I now have some literacy from the lunchroom for you. The first one is a book about moods. How are you peeling? Foods with Moods. This is from the Scholastic Bookshelf, published in 2004. The feelings get tried on for size. It's a book that asks all the right questions and leaves you feeling great no matter what the answers are. Who would have dreamed that produce could be so expressive, so charming, so lovely and lively, and so funny? The authors and illustrators have created sweet and feisty little beings with feelings, passions, fears, and an emotional range that is, well, organic. There you go. The next one is the science chef who travels around the world. And there are explorations of countries starting in Canada, ending in Ghana. They explore the science secrets of foods, like why does orange soda fizz? Do vegetables really die when you pick them? What makes peanut butter smooth? You'll discover the scientific answers to these and dozens of other yummy mysteries. Plus, you'll get to make and eat sizzling Mexican chicken fajitas, tasty Italian cannoli, awesome Chinese egg rolls, and many other delicious dishes. Whether you're a beginner or experienced cook, you can become an international science chef too. There are experiments and recipes that are kid tested, including only common ingredients and kitchen utensils. The science chef travels around the world, also includes rules for kitchen safety and a complete nutrition guide. And then finally, I have In the Three Sisters Garden. And this is an exploration of Sister Corn, Sister Squash, and Sister Bean, who introduce children to gardening with 2 distinct year-long adventures. This is a book available on Amazon, but if you can look at like your library or the internet to get other stories, I'll put a link in the chat to a YouTube TED Talk that talks about how going back to companion planting, which is what this is called, yields better foods that are more sustainable and replenishing to the soils, and traditional planting compared to industrial planting. And now our spotlight on local. What's in season? Yay, we have quite a few more options coming online. Asparagus, flowers and plants, and fresh herbs and greens, onions, potatoes, radishes, and rhubarb. To be honest, I tried to find a children's book about rhubarb, and there are only a couple of those too. But if you have rhubarb or can try to get that on your menu, that's a fun plant to try. And then we'll move on to our farm to school section. Yay, geographic preference option was expanded. So now with the final rule, it does include the provision that program operators can use locally grown, locally raised, or locally caught as a procurement specification for unprocessed or minimally processed food items. You can start using local and procurement specifications beginning July 1st, 2024, when this rule goes into effect. And think of the child nutrition programs as a market for local producers. And of course, if you have any ideas or questions, reach out. So with that, I'll let you know our next webinar is August 21st. In the meantime, for next month, we have the ISNA annual conference with the theme Unmask Your Potential. It's June 18th to June 20th at the Riverside Hotel in Boise, and their email is idahosna.org, idahosna.org. I'll put that in the chat for you. And then in July, July 8th through 12th, run direct cert as soon as the system is available. And then we begin our annual trainings at NSLP annual trainings. And then in August, some more trainings. Folks are coming back to school. The 21st is our next webinar. And have a great summer. Here's our
Hey, Pam.
non-discrimination statement. Yeah, Lynda?
I just wanted to clarify, July 8th may be delayed a little bit for your first direct cert pull due to the addition of direct cert with Medicaid. So you can try, but you may want to wait until you get notification from us on when it will be open, or it's open and it won't have Medicaid until later in the year. I mean, in the end of July or August. So I hope that clarified things.
Oh, thank you, Lynda. Yes, we have to wait for them to come online too. And then here is our contact information. If you ever have any questions, give us a call, find our emails. We look forward to working with you and appreciate all you do. So with that, it's 9 o'clock and we'll give you back a half hour of your day. Thanks so much, everybody.